Well, this is an exciting time in planning in Santa Clara County because we're looking at El Camino and its future, not just from the transportation standpoint, but also land use and what kind of community we want to build along El Camino.
Population growth is expected to increase in Santa Clara County over the next 25 years. VTA is planning for that growth with its proposed bus rapid transit service along El Camino Real.
If we allow growth to continue relying only upon automobiles, we're very quickly going to fill up the roadways we have. The ability just to move around becomes unsustainable if all we're going to depend upon are cars.
What bus rapid transit offers is something that's cost effective, that we can build with a reasonable investment, but also offers those amenities and that competitiveness with the automobile that really will compel people to use transit in the future.
Transit is sort of the next step that we need to take in an area that is moving from suburban to a more urban setting.
Bus rapid transit is in line with the whole spirit that we have in Silicon Valley, where we embrace innovation, effective and efficient solutions.
A redesign of El Camino Real will go a long way towards helping the Bay Area meet its regional goals for greenhouse gas emission reductions.
AB 32 with reducing greenhouse gas involves a lot of technology. We're going to have to make sure the cars are more efficient. But SB 375 is our way through the land use process to really look at being efficient. What we're really doing with something like BRT is creating opportunity for more people to be in those places where they can use transit and not have to rely on cars every day.
This will be a high-tech approach to responding to the high-tech future we expect to have.
The traffic analysis has looked at the larger area around the corridor, and it's identified what the predicted traffic levels might be when if you take away a lane or if you add additional transit to El Camino Real.
To allow buses to move faster, BRT implementation would devote a lane to buses in each direction in some areas. BRT is designed to provide a better transit experience with more amenities than traditional bus service and dedicated lanes that allow buses to bypass local car traffic and offer faster service.
By having dedicated lanes, we take them out of the flow of traffic. It also will speed things up and ensure the integrated system where they can move through the El Camino very smoothly will be at the quickest speed.
With the proposed project, you get a couple of impacts that happen. Part of that is, of course, with a reduced number of lanes in El Camino, you're reducing the capacity, but also with traffic diverting off El Camino, the net result is that delays at any one intersection, some will go up slightly, whereas others actually go down due to the diversion of some traffic off of El Camino.
Rather than traveling on residential streets, the traffic analysis shows that traffic diverting off El Camino Real will move to other major arterials.
What the studies have shown is that when we look at the diverted traffic, they're really dispersing amongst many different routes, and again, focusing on more of the major alternatives. While there may be some diversion to local streets, which will be primarily local trips, people very familiar with the area, those numbers are expected to be very small. It's important to keep in mind that as we look to the future, traffic volumes or demands on El Camino are going to grow fairly substantially in some areas that will definitely increase delays along the corridor. What the proposed project does is really provides an alternative mode of transportation that's going to be very competitive with auto travel.
Today, our first choice is really driving. We want to get it to maybe your first choice in the future will be driving, but at least you'll also consider transit. For certain types of trips, certain types of travel that you may do, transit may be the most appropriate thing to do. The way El Camino functions today in terms of how people travel and how people access businesses along El Camino or residences is that there are pockets of left turns, and sometimes those pockets of left turns have signals where the traffic stops and a green arrow allows people to go. Other times there's no signal and people are making a yield and they're just crossing at that pocket. Unprotected left turns would have to have a signal in order to protect the drivers and to make it a safe traffic condition.
In a dedicated bus lane configuration, the left turn lane would be located to the right of the bus-only lane. So that creates a conflict at unsignalized intersections where you could have cars trying to make a left turn across the lane that an oncoming bus is coming in.
One solution is to put in signals at those intersections with left turn arrows.
And that'll have the advantage of allowing those cars making left turns at the intersection to do so protected by a green light, and it'll also help pedestrians crossing because they'll have a signalized crosswalk they can use instead of taking their chances like they might now.
The whole discussion of left turns and access and how both cars and pedestrians use the street is really up for a community to define and let us know what's important.
We're basically turning it over to the cities to tell us which design they want, and VTA is paying for it.
You do not want to ride a bike or walk on El Camino unless you have no choice.
There's a lot of places along El Camino that look like racetracks that were designed for high-speed automobile traffic with really very little consideration for pedestrians.
I think that most drivers along El Camino Real are not expecting cyclists and pedestrians to be on the road, and so aren't accustomed to sharing the road.
There is a need to make El Camino safer and to make it less of a barrier to crossing.
The current pedestrian refuges are not that big, so it's kind of intimidating if you cross halfway across the street and you wait there for the next cycle while cars whiz past you at 40 or 45 miles an hour. If we were to build median bulb-out stations and allow pedestrians to take refuge there, that would provide about an 8-foot wide shelter that's much more substantial and a much safer place to be.
Our general plan talks about bringing the buildings up closer to the sidewalk, to create more of that pedestrian space so that it all feels much more comfortable.
Bike lanes is something that a lot of people mention that they would like to see on El Camino because currently it's not a really safe and comfortable place to bike on. There is no accommodation of bicyclists on El Camino Real.
Having those dedicated bike lanes will make bicyclists definitely feel more comfortable. It's going to make them feel safer and, included and not so much as like an intruder.
So I think a lot of what VRT is about is just sort of changing that urban form away from a very car-oriented place to one that accepts all modes of transportation.
If we can really see this as an opportunity to really be able to transform the corridor and really leverage this project, I think it'll have broader benefits for the community.
As we move forward with this project, the hope is that the project can help these communities define what their vision is for their individual main street in their town, but also help connect all the communities that are along this corridor, the whole 17 miles in all 6 cities, because we all are really connected.
If we fail to do it today, we will get to the point where congestion is just so bad that everyone will say, why didn't we do it before?